Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to try to tackle this rust on the MR2. Okay, so I've started to remove stuff out of the way. So I've removed the alarm system and that's given me access to quite a bit of the rust. There's a bit down the back here which is particularly nasty underneath the ABS pump, but I don't think I need to move the ABS pump. The power steering pump, that will probably have to move out the way, but it's only 3 bolts here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tackle this first, and I'm going to probably do that another day. I'm going to move that after this is dried, just move it out the way and tackle that in a couple of stages. I've got new roll bars, so I'm not going to bother about the rusty old roll bar. That's going to change. And I don't think I need to remove the steering rack. I think with this little wire brush and a drill bit, I should be able to get in there and just clean it all up. But it does seem to be quite surface only. There doesn't seem to be anything too nasty, fingers crossed, apart from this little bit down here, which looks pretty grim. But yeah, let's get on it. Well, I'm actually pleasantly surprised. So I've been at it for, I don't know, 20-30 minutes with the wire brush, and yeah, it's not looking too bad. I mean, there are some grim bits, but what I'm going to do is just put some rust destroyer. I've got some bit hamber, which is apparently the best stuff to put on, and you can just leave this on and it will just eat away at all this rust. But yeah, it does seem to be quite surface here, so at least on this bar should just be able to get that painted up shortly. Probably next gonna try to attack this area over here. Okay, so it's actually going well. Let me show you how far I've got. I've been at this all day, and as you can see, that is actually a lot more solid than I was worried it was going to be. And the same goes for the back, actually. I had to undo the steering rack and pull it forward so I could get down behind the steering rack, but unfortunately the knuckle there won't come loose. I don't want to pry it too much in case I damage it, so I've just dosed it in WD-40 and I'm going to leave it overnight. But yeah, it's surprisingly a lot more solid than I was worried that it was going to be. So everything that I have wire brushed down now is coated with the Rustin's rust remover, and as you can see, it's gone all purple. So this is just breaking down that fine surface rust, changing it into a different compound, and then once that's all dried, I can go over with some paint that's got built-in rust protector. Let me show you that. I've got lots of paint here, but here we go. Hammerite direct to rust metal paint. Okay, so no need to prime or undercoat, quick drying, that's what we like to hear. Okay, so morning cometh, and yeah, it's not looking too bad. I have gone round with a cloth and wiped off all of the rust eater, because even though it said on the bottle that you can paint directly over it, it was quite wet, quite gooey this morning. So I decided to wipe it all off and make it dry, and I'm just going to now stick a bit of paint on this. So as you can see, a couple of layers of the silver Hammerite direct to rust paint, and it's looking pretty good. Could probably go over with a third layer, just because there are a couple of little dimples. There was a lot of moisture in the air, so probably could do with a third layer there. But as you can see, I've only been able to paint, 90% of it, because over here the power steering pump and the ABS actuator, that's all in the way. So I need to remove all that so I can paint the up to the chassis rail on the other side. The other thing is this universal joint. I couldn't undo this the other day, so what I've done is I've removed the bolt and I put some WD-40 in there, and then later on today I'm going to try to remove that again. What I've done though quickly is just put a little bit of red paint on there, just so that when I go to put it back together, it'll be easy to line it back up to exactly where it was before. So yeah, just a little bit of advice. I mean, this is a 2005 car, and it's got quite a bit of surface rust under the frunk. So for anybody who's got a much older car, like a 1999 onwards, you're almost certainly going to see the same, if not worse. So if you want to keep the car long term, probably a good idea to get the front plastics out, take a look at the condition of your own car, because if yours is older than mine, it might be even worse. It might need some work, like sooner rather than later, to make sure that it's good for the foreseeable. Ah, success. So I've managed to separate the universal joint, and now with that I can just lift the rack enough just to get in there and repair that surface rust. So I'm going to wire brush that, and then I'm going to put some rust remover on it. So I'm out of breath, I've been hammering away at this thing, and then hopefully once the rust remover has had an evening of eating away at whatever's left on the surface, I can then repaint it like the rest. Okay, so power steering pump is moved out the way, and also ABS pump. So not the easiest thing to get off. There was a bolt here, and then also a bolt, I think it was that one as well. No, actually no, this one down here. And this allowed you to undo the cradle that the ABS pump sat in, which is this awful looking thing. Now unfortunately, this is pretty much rusted through, so I'm gonna have to get onto the blower to Toyota, try to get a new one of these ordered, because it's all got to get out the way anyway so that he can get in there and do the welding. But this is actually not too bad. If we just scrape all this back, looks pretty solid. That looks pretty manky down there. That's going to need a wire brushing, but I can just get to it from behind now that all this crap's out the way. So yeah, fingers crossed, let's get in there with a wire brush. Let's do what we can, and then it'll all be good for taking it in for that rusty hole there. But better call Toyota first thing, actually, and get that ordered before anything else. So, not a good start. This is actually a discontinued part. So I'm going to go onto eBay and I'm going to see if I can hopefully find one and go and collect it. But as you can see by the bottom of it, I'm not going to be able to do much with that. I mean, maybe my welding chap can just cut the arms off and just create a new box for it to sit on, but oh, it's not looking good though, is it? Okay, so I knew I was going to uncover some nasties as I did this job, but I'm quite surprised it wasn't where I was expecting it to be. So I'm expecting this to be totally rotten. It's got a hole in the bottom which I can feel, which is going to need patching up. You can see just here there's like so tinny and there's shit falling out of it. But this is the nasty bit that I found. So just here, and this is the bar that the steering rack connects to, so it's all okay on that side. But over here, I don't know whether brake fluid has been leaking or something, but there seems to be a lot more corrosion on the driver's side. So when I go into the welders, he's going to have to patch that up. Of course, it's where the lower suspension arm connects, so that needs to be rock solid. Okay, so I've done realistically as much as I can do tonight. Run out of daylight again, it's the winter. So, but what you can see is all around here, it's pretty solid. I've just taken back all of the surface rust, and with the exception of that nasty little hole down there, like the one at the top, it's all surprisingly solid. So even around the back there, it looks atrocious, but it's actually really quite strong. I've been poking at it with screwdrivers everywhere to try to find any further holes, and I'm pleased to say it doesn't look like there are any. So even though the metal is all quite pitted down there at the back, I think it's going to be okay. Beautiful. So all covered in rust protector all the way around there. Sorry, rust protector, rust remover, that's what I'm talking about. You can see how it's already going purple. It's taken away all that surface rust that I couldn't quite get off with the wire brushes and everything. Went up around that bracket as well. This bracket isn't too bad, so I didn't bother doing that. But yeah, fantastic, dead chuffed with that. And that bit of that hole down there just above the steering rack, that's not going to be too bad, because the guy can take the under tray off and he can weld that up from below. It's only going to take like it's only going to need like a bracket like this big just to weld straight over the top of that, because all the rust is gone now. I mean, he's going to have to blow out the hole. There's probably going to be bits of rust and stuff in there, but otherwise, yes, it could have been a lot worse. So yeah, I'm going to leave this overnight to dissolve, and hopefully we're going to be soon painting that side like this side. Underneath the frunk bucket thing, there were 2 metal strips which had a bit of surface rust on them, so I've been treating those as well. Walk over to the sink here. These are the 2 strips that I'm talking about. They had quite a lot of surface rust on them, so I wire brushed them back and I've treated them multiple times with rust remover. The brown bits you see up here, that's not rust, that's actually just the colour the metal's gone for some reason. So these are actually ready to paint now, so I'm just going to give them a wipe down, take any residual rust converter off, and give them a nice spray of black paint. Bit of paint, very nice. I ended up just using the same silver Hammerite Direct to Rust that I'm using on the front, on the rest of the car, just because the black stuff I had wasn't anti-corrosion paint, it was just normal paint. And seeing as these are now bare metal in places after I've rust treated them, I thought that would probably be the best thing to use. Okay, another day. That's looking pretty good. Bit crusty around there, but otherwise I think we're pretty much good. There's that hole down there that needs to weld up. Ooh, pretty grim. But nothing that can't be repaired. So what I'm going to do now is just wash off all of that surface chemical left behind and we get some paint on there. Painting under the frunk is done. As you can see, went over the chassis rail on the left side. Yeah, I suppose I should have really painted under there, but it's going to just be a nightmare to remove all that stuff, and there's no corrosion under there anyway, so it's a waste of paint. But yeah, I went all the way up to just below where the welding is going to be. I mean, that's a nice solid piece of metal there, so he's basically going to have to cut out that section and weld a new piece in. So I've got up to as far as he needs to go. Obviously, bit of overspray in various places, but it's all going to be covered up by plastic covering, and if anything, the more paint, the better the rust protection. Okay, so with all of that done, I'm going to turn my attention to this bracket that the ABS pump sits in. So I soaked it overnight in rust protector, and it looks an absolute state, but surprisingly, it's quite solid. The only bit that's a bit flimsy is this bit, and that doesn't really take any weight at all. Like, the main weight is held in this bit here. So I'm going to give that a clean off, go over it again with another wire brush, and then I don't think I'll even need to put another coat of rust remover converter on there. I think that'll be ready to paint then. Come and have a look at what I've done over here. Would you believe it? Once I actually took a wire brush to that bracket, it wasn't too bad. You can see it's a bit cruddy on the back. I tried to take off as much of that as possible, but it's proper solid old rust, and it wasn't coming off easy. So the way I looked at it is that's probably not going to get any worse quickly now that I've painted it, and I'm going to cover it in unsealer as well. But yeah, I managed to salvage that. There weren't any holes at all in it. It was just heavily corroded, so big win there. So I think that's probably the best place to leave this video. I've actually been recording this over the course of 2 weeks now. It probably doesn't look like a lot in the video, but it's a very long, slow process, all this rust removal. So we are at the stage where all of the rust is removed to the best of my ability. It's been rust converted and it's been painted with anti-rust paint. So it's now just a case of waiting for everything to dry and putting everything back into the front of the MR2, and then I can take it over to the welders in the new year, and he can weld up the 4 holes I found. There's one obviously in the strut tower. There's the 2 new ones right at the bottom of the steering rack bracket, and also at the front bracket, just behind the radiator fans, there's one that I can feel underneath, but I haven't actually got a chance to get under the car and remove all the underneath rust. So that's probably a job that I'll do after it's come back from the welders. But yes, stay tuned. There'll be another part 2 of the bodywork coming up when I get the car back from the welders, but I don't know whether I'm going to get a chance to do another video now before Christmas or before the new year. Ed's on the verge of doing a video soon. It's been a while that he hasn't done one, but he's had a lot of things going on in the background, and you will see exactly what he's been up to soon. So hopefully see you on the next video. Take care. Bye for now.